Birchman Richard is a small Cajun man whose father instilled him a love of the military and of flying, and he's written his life story about how his career, which spanned the country, landed him a job as an experimental pilot to the Cheyenne helicopter.
My interest in aviation began when I was about this high, when my father brought me to central Louisiana to watch the maneuvers that they were having. And while I was there, I saw these little airplanes taxiing around the field, and I fell in love with aircraft. Later on in high school, I joined the Civil Air Patrol, became a cadet captain, and got to fly in the back seat of a couple of airplanes.
He wanted to go to flight school, but to afford it, went into the military. He went to college, becoming an officer in the infantry, then got orders to fly for the Army, where he says 1/3 of the class washed out. Then he joined the 101st Airborne's Aviation Battalion. It was serving in Korea, where he really learned to fly. In his unit, he flew both planes and helicopters and retired from the military to work in the private sector for a company called Petroleum Helicopters, servicing men back and forth to oil rigs.
That was some of the most dangerous flying I've done. We'd fly out 100 miles over water, hoping we could find it. We had no navigation systems like we had today. I finally made captain, had the four stripes on my sleeve and the egg salad on my hat.
It was at the Lockheed California company that he became involved with their building of a state-of-the-art helicopter.
It was a gunship by the Army. It was called the Cheyenne, the AH-56, armed helicopter. They gave the captains of Los Angeles Airways a tour of the aircraft. They wanted our opinions of it.
Since he was out of the military, he didn't know if they would rehire him to test the Cheyenne, but got the interview and went to Lockheed and was hired. Birchman says there's a big difference in the ranking of test pilots.
Started off, the lowest class is production. The next step up is engineering test pilot. This is the cream de cream. This is the guys that get into an aircraft and nobody knows what it's going to do.
Birchman has a bit of competition in him when he's compared to a fighter pilot.
Everybody brags about fighter pilots, and fighter pilots are wonderful guys. But before fighter pilots, there were test pilots. Nobody had to get in that aircraft the first time.
At Lockheed, he became a VIP pilot.
I flew brass around in a little experimental helicopter called the 286, which is the world's only fully aerobatic helicopter. So finally, one day Lockheed came to me and said, "We would like you to become an engineering test pilot." And I said, "That's what I'm here for. That's what I want."
There were only 10 of the attack helicopters made, and Lockheed got so mad when they canceled the contract, they destroyed all the plans, tools, and designs, and said they would never work with the Army again. But he says that's just part of being in the military. You take your lumps and move on. This A-10 Warthog that you see behind me was instrumental in winning the first Gulf War in the early 90s. The jet had a top speed of 439 miles per hour, and it flew over England skies until the base closed in 1992. In the 70s, Richard's chopper flew at 250 miles per hour and tells in his book of a time when he took off and the seat broke and couldn't reach the pedals or speed control.
They're all saying, "Birchman, what's wrong? Birchman, what's wrong?" And I'm accelerating down the runway like that. And I just kind of beeped the nose up. So the ship started climbing. You had to be careful. If you put in too much, it'd actually loop on you. So I'm climbing out now. I'm doing a couple thousand feet a minute and over 100 miles an hour by this time. And I finally straightened it up, clammed up, pulled myself back up so I could reach my controls and continue the flight.
We concluded our interview looking at the aircraft that was piloted by Captain Rick McBurney.
Well, that's Captain McBurney. He was the commander of this airfield at one point, and he flew that. That's an F-84. The F-84 and the F-86 that we just looked at earlier are both the same time period, both the same performance factor. Captain McBurney was a colonel when I met him. We were both members of an outfit called the Dedayas, which is a society of ex-military pilots.
Birchman had lots of harrowing near misses in his career and crashed 3 times, but never lost his cool or his wings. And he took his hat off as he read the plaque honoring those killed in the line of duty. He says his faith influenced his decision-making and thanks God for helping him survive and live to tell about it. From England Air Park, Joel Massey, ABC 31 News that works for you.
to see what's happening in our country today.